All right, so we are officially live, and I wanted to welcome everybody to the live stream that we have going on today. We are celebrating Syzigi's 1-year anniversary, and I am so extremely happy to be having these 4 department heads on our live stream today, where we will get to learn a little bit more about Sizigi, a startup company that Tony Malz, our CEO and founder, created in September of 2019. It started in September of 2019. So do you guys want to just give a quick introduction of yourselves before we get into it?
Yeah, sounds great. First off, thank you everyone for joining. We're excited to celebrate this 1-year milestone with you. I'm Tony, the CEO of Sizigi.
I'm Alex, the marketing director here at Sizigi.
I'm Veronica. I'm the director of financial recruiting.
And I'm Zachary. Hello, Chief Technology Officer.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for introducing yourselves. I am so excited to get deep into the questions of what is Sizigi today and how we've overcome so many different things that might have seen as setbacks for other companies, but can be used as just differentiation for us as a company, especially within the virtual world is what we're seeing right now. I just did want to mention that we are going to be having some incentives for our viewers today. So be sure to stay tuned for the entire live stream, because we are going to be giving away different prizes such as our Sizigi swag and maybe a couple of free premium accounts for different viewers. So if you don't know, we did just release a new software that allows for different key insights and analytics, as well as up to 5 presentations that you can custom create for hiring managers to view on your e-portfolio. So we will be getting into that at the end of our live stream. I'll share just a little bit of what you will be seeing in your Sizigi swag pack if you are interested in something like this. We do have a t-shirt, some nice stickers, pens, bottle opener keychains, shot glasses, and cups for you. And that is included with the 2-month free premium that we are offering with the rest of our swag pack. So let's get right into this. Tony, you started Sizigi about a year ago. What led you to start this company, and what inspired you really to create Sizigi?
Sure. I was about 18 or 19 years into my career, mostly just at big companies, right? And in 2019, I found myself unexpectedly unemployed. And I didn't have to look for a job since 2002, right? 17 years before that. And there was something called a resume and a job board, and where you apply to jobs that way and you don't hear back. And really nothing's changed in 17 years, right? And I became really kind of frustrated in that whole process. And I started looking around, and everything has gone through a digital transformation. But, the resume first came out in 1482, not like 1982, 1482, right? And, start looking at it and say, hey, is there a way to kind of transform this into a digital age? And there's really 3 key areas we were focusing on. The first one is bullet points and keywords, right? You look today, and everybody has using the same keywords and bullet points. And I started thinking about how do we bring that into a digital state? And I started looking at other technologies out there. Let's look at pictures. So back when I was young, when we took pictures, we took them in a camera. You had to use 24 pictures. You drop them off at a photo booth. You wait a couple days to get them developed, right? And you look today, you have something like Instagram. People are taking pictures all the time in a digital manner. So is there a way, much like we capture our personal moments, that we could start capturing our professional moments in this kind of digital manner? For example, creating videos around marketing collateral that talks about the copy, the image, the targeted audience, the engagement, right? That's much better than just saying social marketing. So that was the first thing, is how do we bring bullet points to life? The second thing is, right now there's this kind of evil game being played where people simply hit easy apply, easy apply, easy apply, easy apply. And then companies all of a sudden get hundreds and hundreds of resumes, right? And I started thinking back to music. So back when I was listening to music, there was something called a cassette tape, right? You had to put it in, try and fast forward and find your song. All of a sudden you want to go listen to another song, you have to hit eject, find a new cassette. And it was really hard to kind of configure kind of music for the audience, right? And you fast forward today and you have something like iTunes. You can quickly configure playlists for different audiences, right? You can have a different playlist for your parents and with your friends. So how could we create kind of software that make it really easy to configure job applications that speak to the hiring manager, right? The third kind of pain point is something that we all suffer from, is applying to hundreds of jobs, right? We attach either a PDF or a document, apply to hundreds of jobs, and never have any idea if our resume was seen and what content was seen or how long. So you start looking at video, right? Something like TV, right? Used to just be cable and you had to wait for your show to come on. Soon came VHS, where you could record a show and stuff. But you fast forward today and you have something like Netflix, where you can stream video. You can quickly look at a series, look at a certain episode and watch that content, right? So how could we, instead of attaching documents, start streaming job applications and start giving viewership feedback or intelligence back to the person who applied on how long their application was engaged or what content was viewed? So, when we put that all together, that's what we're looking to do, is bring the resume into a digital age. And, digital transformation takes time. The cool thing is, I'll talk to 100 people and say, who loves the resume? And you're lucky to, see one hand come up. So that's how kind of Sizigi was conceived.
Yeah, I think that it's an amazing tool that everybody should be using, if not already, just because it does allow people to differentiate themselves from a crowd of 500 plus different applicants with that true creative flair that we don't really get to see on paper resumes as much. And I do come across this question a lot, so I thought I would reiterate it to you. A lot of people aren't sure what the meaning of Sizigi is or how you came up with the name. Did you want to kind of give an explanation as to where it came from and what it means for the company?
Well, maybe some of you saw a few of our posts where it was said on Modern Family. It's a cool shout out, but that's not where the name came from. I was really struggling with the name for a few months, and what we wanted the name to reflect was kind of the candidate journey, right? Is on one hand, 250 people apply to a job. On the other hand, only 4 or 5 ever get to see the hiring manager, right? And in between, there's like 98% of friction. There's resume scoring software, right? There's scoring, there's analytics scoring how you interview, what words you say, how you move. There's recruiters only looking at resumes for 6 seconds because they all look the same. There's tons of behavior questions, right? So what we really wanted to do is find a name that kind of reflects how can we, basically enriching the human connection between candidates and hiring managers. So I was on a trip with family up by Santa Barbara, and I received an email from dictionary.com, and it said, Sizigi, a straight line configuration of 3 celestial bodies. And I'm thinking, oh, cool. That's like, sun, moon, earth. Well, that's kind of like what we want to do with candidates, Sizigi platform or a software platform, and hiring managers, right? And the way Sizigi is spelled is S-Y-Z-Y-G-Y. And one of my good friends came up with an idea, and he said, why don't you switch the Y's to I's, and then the 3 dots above the I's can symbolize the 3 celestial bodies. So that's how we came up with the name.
Muted.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. I thought I had clicked it out. I always love learning about the meaning behind different words. And when it can make an impact like that and it has specific meaning to a company, I think it only makes their mission stronger within their whole entire company journey. So we're getting right into the beginning of last year with the start of Sizigi. And Tony, how did you kind of go about assembling your team, and what are the different characteristics that you looked for within the employees that you wanted to hire for Sizigi?
Yeah, so I, kind of had an okay idea, right? And a really cool name, but I didn't really know what I was doing by myself. So, what we got to do is start assembling a team. I've worked for some pretty good teams. One of the teams I worked for actually finished in the top 10 of all stocks in the 2010s. And what I found out is really you want to look for passionate people and you want to empower them. So, the first role we posted was a marketing role. Started the company in mid-September, posted that role in early October, received 250 plus applications, held 30 plus interviews, and, had a couple interviews and kind of narrowed down my list to a couple people, one of which is Alex, obviously. And I'll let her tell the story of kind of the interview process and why she wanted to join Sizigi.
Yeah, I think the interview process with Sizigi was definitely really unique. I was so accustomed to going to interviews, and it's kind of more of a, here's what you're going to do in this role. Here's what you're going to do for us. And Tony was like, here's my vision. What are your kind of ultimate career goals? And how would we do this together? And I thought that was so interesting and so different than anything I had experienced, and was super foreshadowing of, what the culture is now at Sizigi. But so in that interview, the first one, I told Tony, I was like, I really dislike the logo, and he didn't disagree. So I was like, okay, so he's open to change, and he's open to listening to my thoughts and ideas. And in that second interview, I went in and I, presented him this marketing plan that I had developed. One of the components of it was a new logo. And so I was super excited to have him, super excited about it, and that is now our official Sizigi logo. So I think we accomplished a lot in that interview.
Yeah, it was awesome. I saw this. There was a few things. There was podcasts, influencers, and the logo.
Oh yeah, Tony said there's no such thing as a finance influencer. I was like, there's influencers for everything. I was like, there are influencers.
And, on the logo, I'm like, well, what is this? I kind of I like the capital S's, the I's with the dots, but what about this box? And Alex said, oh, this can symbolize kind of breaking out of the resume, right? Unboxing from the resume or being boxed into a job. I go, wow, that means a lot. So I don't think most people know that about our logo. Is the reason why there's a broken box is kind of unboxing from the resume. And I don't think most people know that we found that logo during the interview process. So before somebody was actually receiving the paycheck.
Yeah, I absolutely love our logo, and I think that Alex did a great job designing it. So thank you to Alex for coming up with that marketing plan for her interview and nailing it right on the head, because without her, I have no idea where I'd be in my role. So I owe a lot to all of you guys here. And then going deeper into the different departments that Sizigi was creating at the start, what did you have in your thoughts or for an idea in terms of software? Obviously, because this is a complete platform that anybody can use with internet access and a web browser. So where was your thought process with that, Cody?
Yeah, so I've been in the software industry since 2004, more from a finance perspective, but I still kind of understand software a little bit. And, what I was really looking for Sizigi was a very fresh B2C facing software. Most of my time's been on B2B. A lot of times the UI is a bit clunky. You go to some of these job boards or job sites, right? It just doesn't give a great UI UX. So, when I first started Sizigi, I had a friend and we kind of assembled a front end, back end, and kind of a UI person, and we started trying to build out that way. They were moonlighting. It really wasn't working out well. Kind of knew I had to move on. That kind of just got us started a little bit. So I posted our CTO position, and we received over 800 applications. It was tremendous interest. I knew this role was going to be really critical to our success. I interviewed over 100 people, probably interviewed face-to-face, maybe 15 people. And one of them was Zachary. And, I'd love to kind of, why don't you tell kind of about the interview and why you like Sizigi?
Well, thank you for that, Tony. It's really interesting because I'm not actively looking for a job, right? But I came across the Sizigi posting, and I think you did your homework. You added the proper keywords to the job post. You structured it well. You sent it out on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden, LinkedIn picked it up, and it came across my feed. I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And I'm here in San Diego as well. Ultimately, I am passionate about impact. How do we impact individuals? How do we create a better condition for the human condition? I myself was actually a recruiter many, many centuries ago when I first started out out of college. And I recruited for technical individuals, and I grew up in New York, and it was a very, very hectic, chaotic process. And like you said, Tony, I would send out as a recruiter 100 resumes, and I may get a call back on one, right? So your hit ratio is very, very low. And that does a disservice to people because it's very difficult to convey who you are through a series of bullet points, right? So when I came across the job posting, I was very, very intrigued. And I responded, and you and I just had a conversation, a real open, no pressure oriented conversation. You immediately invited me into the office, and I sat down and I met you and Alex, and, I didn't know what to expect. You're a startup, you were struggling with some technology and getting off the ground, as most startups do in the beginning, so I sat down and I found that you and Alex were just very, very down-to-earth people, and you came straight out like, this is a huge problem, and this is why Sizigi was born. And for me, I built a lot of software in the past, right? Some have not succeeded at all, and some has been wildly successful. So, you learn from those experiences. So when you first started telling me about the vision of Sizigi, what clicked in my mind was, how does content and information resonate and connect, right? Strip away everything else. It's all about communication. It's about emotionally connecting, resonating, understanding the journey that particular individual has been on, and that comes through content and information. So I whipped out an application I had built in the past, opened up that application right there in front of Tony and Alex, and said, look, this is how you do it. You build content, you build blogs, you record videos, you curate links, you distribute that, you tell people what you're passionate about and allow them to understand your story, right? And, really simply, that I think that one demo and that one meeting and that connectivity was magical, right? And sometimes you don't find that in an interview. I was able to show and tell, and that's what really Sizigi is all about, is being able to show and tell. So from my experience with meeting you and Alex for the first time to, over the past year working with Sizigi to, from ground zero to where we are today, we've been able to tell a story. And I think that storifying, right, our backgrounds and being able to really send that out to the market and understand how that story is reacting and having a full feedback loop to that story, I think it was very powerful.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I could start sleeping at night again. So thank you.
Thank you, Zach. I love to hear about people's stories when they first started with the company, just because it's so inspiring to know that there are so many different people with so many different talents within one company that are doing amazing things, just to see people grow within their careers and within their life experiences and their profession. So thank you for sharing that with us. Let's move on to the sales and recruiting, because that also plays a huge role within Sizigi. Veronica, how was your interview process with Sizigi? And Tony, I'm not sure if you guys wanted to take turns with this one. What was your vision when going through the sales and recruiting process? Veronica,
yeah,
I don't know if you, yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, maybe I'll start. So cool. Now we got marketing. Now we're developing some product, right? And it's very consumer facing. So the next thing is how do we get businesses to start using this, right? Because, at some point, if businesses aren't actually using it, it's just going to take longer for this digital transformation to take place. So, you start talking to hiring managers. I know a lot of them and stuff, and say, all else being equal, would you rather see a resume with who knows whether the bullet points and keywords are real? Or would you rather have someone create some digital content that really speaks to you and show their employable skills? And they're like, yeah, of course, the latter. So I'm like, okay, great. So now that, we were starting to get further along, it's okay, let's find somebody who can help us from a recruiting or sales perspective that can have those conversations with companies. And, this role was really critical to me because me as a finance leader, I had a lot of recruiters coming to me, and a lot of them don't have the domain expertise, right? So I was kind of looking for someone who actually had finance, accounting, or some real world experience, as well as some recruiting experience. So in the summer of 2019, I started reaching out to people, and that's when I had my first conversation with Veronica. And then as we fast forward towards kind of the holiday season, that's where we finalized kind of her coming on board.
Yeah, and so to piggyback on what Tony was saying, at the time I was a recruiter. I mean, back in middle of 2019, I was a recruiter. I have a finance background. I was in internal audit for about 5 years before I moved into recruiting, and best decision I ever made. But I met Tony because he actually messaged me when I was working, and he was like, hey, I see you're a recruiter. I'm open to new opportunities. I'd love to meet for coffee. And of course, I didn't know that he was starting Sizigi. I had no idea what Sizigi was. So when I saw that and I saw he was, a senior manager, CFO level, I was like, oh my gosh, like if I place him, that is major bucks for me. So of course I'm like, yes, let's meet right now. Like wherever you need me to meet, I will drive up to Carlsbad if you need me to, I'll be there. So of course we meet for Starbucks, we meet for coffee, and I started pitching him like a few roles we might have had, but I was like, look, let's just stay in touch because I don't have anything for you right this minute. And he goes, okay, well, that's great. But I actually wanted to, talk to you about this idea that I have called Sizigi. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Wait, who's doing the recruiting here? Are you recruiting me? And so he essentially told me the background and his idea about Sizigi. And at first I'm like, okay, I definitely wasn't looking for anything new, but I really enjoyed the concept and learning about, the idea behind what Sizigi was and how it made it so different than just any other recruiting firm, and as a recruiter, I left audit to really make an impact in people's lives and to really help people. And nothing is more gratifying and fulfilling than being able to help somebody find a dream job. And honestly, seeing and hearing that smile over the phone on their face when they got the role, it's incredible. So to help people more by just, what's on a resume, by giving them a chance to explain themselves and kind of show their personality and show their expertise, if you will, through an e-portfolio, I thought it was brilliant. So, of course, over time, we kept in touch. We started talking more and more about, okay, how are we really going to launch the B2B, B2C side of Sizigi? And through my network in audit and my network also just in a little bit of recruiting that I had done, I just immediately kind of thought, okay, let's get really creative with this. We'll use LinkedIn. We'll use all other social media platforms. I'll reach out to other, networking platforms that I have, and let's make it happen. So in January, I joined the team.
And then the world of Sizigi just skyrocketed once we had the team created. Yeah, it was off after that. I can see all of the differences that each one of you make on a day-to-day basis, and it's truly amazing just to watch the company grow on the scale that we are watching it grow. So it has been such a pleasure to hear all of your hiring stories and how you've started with Sizigi and how our company has came to be because of all of you. So moving into the awareness of Sizigi, because now we have the team created, now we have the brand, now we have the actual company and the software behind it. Alex, you are the director of marketing. So what are some different techniques or things that you did to kind of create a stronger brand awareness around Sizigi as it was a brand new company?
Yeah, I think, from the first day I went into Downtown Worked, it's like we hit the ground running. It was like creating all the socials, establishing all the posting schedules, newsletters, campaigns, designing our promotional items that we always wear and that we always do giveaways for, which if you guys stay tuned, we do have a giveaway later in this Sizi-Talk Live, but even like creating our videos, enablement videos, teaching people what Sizigi was through any means possible. And we even had a user group during that time where we learned a lot about our platform and how people would use it. Events pre-COVID that were at career fairs, and many website redesigns. You know, it was all about brand awareness and getting people to start seeing Syzigi's logo everywhere. And this was even before we had a platform. So it was like, coming soon, follow Sizigi everywhere. We don't have anything yet, but we will. And I even went to Tony one day and I was like, what do you think about podcasts? And he's like, I like to listen to some. And I was like, we're going to start a podcast. And he was like, okay, I guess we're going to start a podcast. And so it was great to have, you know, Tony on board with everything, because I was like, look, I want to be in every avenue that somebody can hear us, see us, listen to us. And so, you know, it was a lot about getting our brand out, making sure it was visible by anyone. And it was a lot about, you know, reaching out to our audience. And it still is, you know, except now when we have users who sign up, they know more about Sizigi. They've seen it. They're like, I saw this everywhere, so I created an account, or, you know, I've heard about Sizigi. I want to learn more. And so it's really nice to see that, you know, in the first year, our brand awareness has really skyrocketed. And yeah, I mean, a lot of it is Tony supporting in every avenue that is, you know, that we can be on. He was always full force and like, yeah, we'll do it. We'll give it a shot.
Yeah, especially with the memes and the TikToks. Yeah. I think now would be a good time to take a little meme break just to show you guys some of the hard work we're doing with our branding. Just kidding. Alex Susie's GIFs, but I wanted to share some of them with you guys just so you can kind of see some of the content that we do have. So this is just one of them. We'll have several meme breaks, and we actually just created a meme team for our content curation meetings, which is something pretty cool that we're excited about. And I can't wait for all of the new memes to be on all of our different accounts. But
every company should have a meme team.
Oh yes, I love the memes. So Zach, I know that Alex had just said that when she was doing all of the brand awareness and she was working on getting the name of Sizigi out there, the platform still had not made it to its final stages yet, and now we're on version 2, I believe. Am I correct in that, or is it version 3? Oh, I'm late to the party. Oh, okay. So when you were creating version 1, what kind of was your thought process of the software? What did you want to incorporate? Did you want it to be more easy for users to kind of understand, or how did you think about that in terms of development?
Yeah. For those that aren't in development, there is a concept called lean inception, right? And lean inception is basically a thought process, a discovery process of thinking of the end in mind. Like, what do we envision this platform doing, right? And working backwards and understanding sort of what are those Lego pieces, those components that build up to your particular vision. So when I first really met Tony, you know, the vision caught fire. But that vision needs a lot of support and growth and information and validation. So really it started out with the process of what are the components that are going to make up this platform? We know we want videos, right? Video engagement is really key. We know we want blog posts because people are going to want to write about themselves or create a case study or a use case, or, you know, even talk about their own experiences in a longer content format. Also, there's links out there, right? Everybody has a digital presence. We're all online. So maybe you have a Medium blog post or a really significant Instagram account, or, you know, dozens and dozens of other platforms. So we also wanted to provide the ability to curate information that you've already created out there, or even curate information that you resonate with. Like, you know, I love quantum physics. So if you go and look at my board, I'm going to throw some quantum physics links in there, right? So really identifying functionality and then thinking about user experience, right? How are we enabling the user to access this information, to access this content? And then after doing that, it really became a matter of testing this, right? And there's various ways to test it. So we launched a focus group internally. We invited executives from, high-level positions in finance and technology and marketing, all the way down to, college student level individuals that were just graduating. And we gathered their feedback. We showed them the concepts. We let them touch and play with, sort of the initial MVP. And we gathered their feedback, and it was incredibly invaluable. And to this day, not everything is incorporated because we have to take it in steps, but we definitely took a step back and integrated those experiences that we identified as being very critical to the common perception of the usage and utilization of the platform. And then as we continued to grow further, it became a point, and this is something that every single startup needs to pay attention to at some point in their life cycle, which is how do you monetize? Right? Alex is thinking about distribution, voice, brand, traffic, stickiness, acquisition. But, at the end of the day, how do you monetize all of this, right? How do you drive a company forward? So each iteration that we've been able to put out here has been really focused on what are the core components that can help to incrementally drive the vision of Sizigi, to drive the exposure of and the adoption of Sizigi, and then drive the monetization of Sizigi. Because if we can look at that from a holistic perspective and we can achieve that cycle, then we've created a platform for growth.
Awesome. Yeah, I honestly don't think you could have hit it more on the head there with that explanation. I don't know what goes into software development. I was never a huge computer science person, but I think how to do it. Unfortunately, I took one computer science class in college, so that was the beginning and the end of my coding career. But I think that what you've built, if you guys haven't checked out our new version yet, definitely check out the new software because it's amazing. Zach and Alex worked really hard on this, and I want everybody to experience it just because it is free for you to use and it's supposed to help. So while we're talking about acquisitions as well, Veronica, did you want to give us a little bit of a rundown of, how your last few months have been? I know that it has obviously turned all virtual, and with recruitment and recruiting, usually a lot of that stuff is done face-to-face and building business rapport. How did you acclimate to this new climate kind of all of a sudden?
Yeah, so when we first started, or when I first joined in January, this is pre-COVID, BC, before COVID, and we were going to networking events. Tony and I were going to different coffee meetings, lunches, happy hours. I mean, the typical recruiting socialization you do to just develop relationships. And then COVID hit. We were doing really well. I mean, we were getting our name out there. People were interested in not only joining the platform when it launched, but also, working with us in the future. And then COVID hit. And unfortunately, we had to take a step back and kind of rethink how we were going to go forward with continuing not only those relationships, but also developing new ones. So honestly, we just had to do massive outbound reach, do phone calls, do Zoom calls, message on LinkedIn. We really utilize LinkedIn and just a regular phone call, email, text approach, and just really aggressively trying to get our name out there. I mean, it definitely slowed down a little bit. I mean, thankfully, we had roles going into COVID that we were working on, and a few of them wound up, unfortunately, evaporating, if you will, just because the company itself wasn't hiring anymore. So we definitely had some turbulence beginning of COVID. It was slow, I'll be honest. But then once, maybe I would say about a month or so ago, it started turning around. People were starting to hire again. And we kind of saw a huge influx of openings happening on LinkedIn. I had thankfully some interns at the time. And then also with my help and Tony's help, we started getting more job orders. And at one point we had like 6 open roles. So things turned around for the better. And it so far has continued that way. And we've made placements along the way. So there was a speed bump right there in the middle of the year, but it wasn't anything that we couldn't get through. And thankfully, we wound up doing it even through just organic, LinkedIn messaging, and it worked. I wouldn't say it was the best method, but it worked given the circumstances. So I would say that we pulled through.
Yeah, amazing. I know all of the work that you and your team did over the summer was amazing.
Thank you.
B2B and B2C updates every week. And it was just fun to see all of the new users that we were getting and all of the new companies that were showing interest. So on topic of COVID, just because we did touch base on that a little bit, Tony, how has you changed, or how has Sizigi changed in terms of, different internal or external factors that may have been affected by COVID, other than just the recruitment process, as Veronica was just talking about?
Yeah, so it's early January, right? So let's say early January 2020. Veronica just joined, Zachary just joined, and Alex has been there about a month. And for those 2 months, January, February, let's call it halfway through March, we hit the ground running. Marketing was going great. We had our minimum viable product. We were running focus groups, getting customer feedback. And Veronica was working with companies. We had a 6-digit pipeline out there, and we were going to college career centers, meeting students, et cetera. And then obviously COVID hit, right? And, I've kind of lived through nothing like COVID, right? But I lived through the dot-com bubble burst in 2001 and how that impacted the economy. I was working in the stock market. 2008, I was working at a software company that predominantly sold to banks during the financial crisis. So I've been, through that. And when this hit, nobody knew anything, right? So obviously our business slowed down externally. Nobody was really looking for hiring or anything like that. So we really focused on internally. This was a good time for us to build ourselves up the best, right? To really execute at a great high level over the next few months. And as part of that, we started, say, hey, we'll probably hire 2 interns to help us out. Before COVID hit, we said, we'll hire 2 interns, right? I'd love to help out have a finance intern, maybe a marketing intern, maybe talent acquisition for Veronica. When I was at Intuit and FICO, I never had interns. So, FICO had a big team, never had an intern, is one of my regrets. So we had 2 to 3 interns we were thinking of. COVID hit, we posted our internships. We received 4,000 applications, more than 4,000 applications. So one of the cool things I'm really proud of is on how we responded to COVID is, rather than rescinding or canceling internships, we actually expanded the program significantly. So out of the 4,000 applications, we had over 800 interviews, and we hired a team of 70 interns. So I'll talk about kind of the internship that I ran, and then we'll kind of go across the Zoom here. For me, was finance, okay? Finance related. And, I have a bachelor's and master's in finance, and there's a huge gap from academia to professional world. And then there's a huge gap in professional world to really cutting edge finance, right, of where it needs to be. And this program really tried to put together a structure on that. We had 36 interns across 6 different areas. Those 6 areas were fundraising, because we're kicking off fundraising. So how much do we think Syzygi's worth? What's our targeted investors, et cetera, et cetera. Other things were pricing, right? Zachary mentioned that before. So they ran a 500-person survey. We got insights on pricing and packaging, and they proposed that to us. Third was market expansion. What cities or countries should we enter into, or direct or partnership channels? Fourth was, what should our software platform look like over the next few years, and how do we, execute on that or prioritize on that, like which features? Fifth was a financial strategy model, and 6th was operations. So we wrapped that in together, and it was what I call flip the pyramid, where this internship was very high value items, because these were the 6 things that were keeping me up at night, I call it. And over those 2-3 months, delivered great value. So that was our finance internship. Alex, you want to talk about the marketing internship program?
Yeah, I think that, overall the marketing internship accomplished so much. I want to start off by a huge shout out. I don't know if everyone's watching, but to Stella, Brittany, Abby, who now sits here as our social media manager, Sadie, Quinn, and Michael. I mean, they came and it was like full force. We furthered our market research. We established our branding guidelines. We increased our social following, engagement. We jumped on TikTok with our very own influencer, Abby. We developed an SEO strategy. We did a full custom redesign of our website. And for me, it was just insane to think that, we were going to jump on board and do all of this in 3 months, and we did. And so I remember we were doing Tony was like, we're going to do intern Suzuji standouts. And I was like, we can only pick one. I was like, I don't even know who I'm going to choose or who I could possibly, bring up and just highlight one. And so I think that the amount of passion and dedication by our interns is something that, continues to just blow me away. And there's so much to do, but I feel like they were able to elevate so much of what my goals were in marketing over the summer, where we thought it was going to be a bit of a lull period because of COVID, and it just turned out to be just phenomenal.
Yeah, amazing. I was able to be a part of the marketing team internship program over this past summer. So I am forever grateful for the opportunity that I was given at the beginning of the summer, and then just the chance to be able to grow in this role that I have now is something that I never would have thought would happen to me. Honestly, if you asked me like 6 months ago, I would have been like, you said what? You're telling me this? Let's go into the HR and the TA internships with Veronica. Did you want to talk about how your summer went and the different things that you guys did within your internship program this past summer?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to have about 11 interns over the summer. They primarily focused on TA. I know Tony took a little bit of the HR internship, so those are two separate programs. But for talent acquisition internship, I had a lot of talented people all throughout the U.S. It was really cool being able to meet them and have weekly talks with them. But essentially, what they focused on recruiting and they focused on sales. So at the time that the internship started, unfortunately for most, people were out of jobs at that time. Unemployment was the highest it's been in a long time. So fortunately for the interns, they were able to really get that experience interviewing people, looking for, certain things that people were displaying during an interview, like presentation, articulation, what to ask, what to look for, where they'd fit into a company. And of course, there was definitely a learning curve. It was the first time they'd ever been exposed to this. So I helped them through that process, and they picked up right away. I mean, they did a phenomenal job, and they got a lot of people onto the platform. In addition to that, they were able to kind of get out of their comfort zone and message people on LinkedIn for the sales portion, which is to get clients to work with us at Sizigi. And at first, it's so cute because they were like, I don't know if I feel comfortable messaging, a CEO or a CFO. And it's like, you know what? They put on pants just like us every day. They're human too. You can message them. They're not going to bite, I promise. And you're behind a computer screen, so it's fine. Like just send them a message. It's okay. I'll help you on the first one. And then they just got so brave, and they were able to just message whoever. And I loved seeing that sort of that courageousness, basically just getting out of the comfort zone and really learning the steps on how to establish relationships. And we even actually got one intern to get us a client relationship and a job order over in New York. And that was remarkable. And that happened to be like our first placement for Suzuji, which was great. So, they learned a lot. I'm really proud of them. I would not have been able to do all this work or get as many people on the platform as we did without their help. So I think it was really beneficial for them. And they truly got a good experience of what being in talent acquisition and a recruiter truly is in the real world. So it was a great opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember learning about their presentations when they each kind of took over one region, and they explained what the job market was like, how it could expand, and kind of sought out those future equations or the future predictions on how the job market was going to be. So I definitely learned a lot during that presentation, and I was super excited to learn more, just because I had never really been involved with recruiting or sales in anything other than school. Mm-hmm. So it was fun to see it come to life.
Yeah. And they were able to connect us with their college campuses as well, which was really cool too. So helping even more college students.
Absolutely. And that's what we're trying to get to every college. I'm like calling up all of the ones up here in New York, like, hey, have you heard about us yet? We're coming. So hopefully I can get all of the ones in upstate for right now, and then I'll just move out in a huge circumference. Zachary, so with the data analytics internship, can you explain to us what your interns did and how you kind of ran that program over the summer?
Sure. So data analytics, being a chief technology officer, data analytics really has two sides to it for this conversation. One of the sides is technology. How do you configure and build technology that captures information, right? And not just a website click or a view, but real cogent information. Where did you come from? What's the demographics? What did you do previously? And many, many other factors. And then the other side of the equation is, how do you gather insights and information that your software is not necessarily connected to? I'll give you one quick example. Census data, right? Census data is public data, and it has tremendous, tremendous value. There's also environmental data, behavioral data, economic data. So really, the group of interns that I had the pleasure of interacting with were a really amazing young group of talented individuals that were able to take the reins on this particular problem, which is identifying technically how to capture what we can get to, and then identifying what other information we can access that exists out there in the wild, right? And then the third component to this equation is, once you gather all this information, how do you begin putting that all together? What formulas, what equations? We all hear this AI and machine learning buzzwords, right? How do you apply all of this information and begin to extract insights from that information that can become product features, marketing strategies, that can become the voice of the platform, the experience of the platform, right? That can become both technical touch and human touch. So really the exercise was in exposing the team to how to collect data, how to identify the technologies behind the data, how to import all of this information into a central place, and then what tools can begin to analyze all of this and put out insights. So just using a couple of terms here, tools such as Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, Google Data Manager. Obviously, Google has a great studio of tools. We dived into AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, into services and machine learning, in SageMaker. And again, this team of bright, talented young individuals took the bull by the horn, dived directly into the technology with no fear, absolutely no fear. And in a very short period of time, with general guidance, they were coming back to me with insights, with saying, wow, we compared this information and we were able to extract this insight, and we never even realized this would be impactful to the hiring process or, how individuals view themselves. So I think that the information that we've gleaned from this, the exercise that we've gone through with this, not only created insight for Sizigi in terms of its products and strategies, but more so, we were able to give back to a younger generation that I think are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. And that was very special.
Yeah, and real quick, Abby, just to add on a couple other programs is the HR internship, right, which was great. We weren't planning to have an HR internship, but we expect to grow this team significantly in 2021, and it was good. They accomplished a lot. We have our mission and vision. We have an awesome onboarding program now that we're going to use for 50 to 100 of our marketing campus ambassador interns, and we did a lot of engagement stuff because we were running a large internship program virtually. So ran surveys, coffee chats, etc. So they were They did an awesome job. And then we also had a field marketing team to help us kind of go out there and get some insights, whether it's with college campuses or launching something like what we're doing now with Sizi-Talks. Real quick, just want to remind people to kind of comment, ask questions, and then we'll take the names and then we'll do a random name selector for the five prizes, okay, at the end of this.
Yeah, we are actually recording the names as we speak.
Oh, awesome.
We do have a couple of questions. I don't know if you guys want to save all of the user questions for the end, or if you were up to take in some right now.
Yeah, let's mix it up a little bit.
All right. So we have a LinkedIn user who is asking, what were some of your favorite initiatives that the interns rolled out?
Personally, is what we tried to do is really align interns to do very high impact items. Okay. So I'm telling you, on the finance side, it was very strategic across 6 main areas that most finance professionals don't have exposure or knowledge on. So all those initiatives were fantastic. Our HR team did an amazing job. Very cool, key, impactful stuff. Field marketing did great stuff. I'll let Zachary, Alex, Veronica, if you guys want to chime in. But some of the favorite ones is tough for me because the finance internship was more or less kind of one end-to-end huge strategic initiative, and the output of that was unreal. So, it's hard for me to decide what's my favorite because I thought all of it was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Sorry, Alex. Me personally, I can't say that there's a favorite, right? Because each initiative was unique and impactful and wonderful. But on my side, on the analytics side, I would say that the configuration and utilization of the tag manager technology, in terms of tracking very specific information, I thought worked out really, really well and was a great exercise.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing as Zach said. Everything was so unique and so tailored to each team that, we really gave them the freedom and creativity. And that was the one thing we were always kind of continually saying is any idea, just bring it on the table. If it's within our scope, we'll do our best to implement it. But I think that overall, one of my favorites, it's hard to say which one's your favorite, but I think that the HR initiative that was led for the training program that now we have in place, I think for me is just incredible. And it's just so amazing to see all the hard work that they've put into it and establishing, and it's all a virtual training because of, COVID and not really being sure, how long this, new normal virtual work landscape will be, but to have that training program that was really led by the HR team was incredible.
You did.
I really didn't want to be that person that this time, and that was me. So I apologize. But yeah, I think along with what Tony said, it's hard to pinpoint one initiative because the internship as a whole had kind of one initiative in mind. And I think honestly, just having their effort in getting the word out about Sizigi and also getting users on the platform, that was huge. That was all the interns. I cannot take responsibility for that. I mean, yes, I helped certain people, but they really pushed at least a couple thousand onto the platform. So that was my favorite. And they really hustled on that. So I'm proud of them.
I think one of my favorite initiatives, all of them are great, but it's one we haven't talked about, is something called Project Emerge. Something I'm passionate about. It was something that was started by UCSD students that came aboard at Sizigi. And what it is a partnership between Sizigi, UCSD students, and UCSD College Career Center. And what their mission is to create more internships at companies, working directly with companies. So what's cool about that is we need to drive a value proposition that interns can drive very high value projects. They don't have to be low value administrative, right? So, we've been able to do that. We've been able to put together a value proposition for companies by using us will help streamline your interviewing and hiring process, making it better for both parties. And, their first client, we were hoping for any client, maybe a small or mid-sized company. It just happened to be the largest one in San Diego, who is Qualcomm, right? And to see most of them are rising sophomores, right? To be able to get that professional confidence, to be able to go to market like that, and to be able to get a company like Qualcomm to believe into Project Emerge is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. I was actually going to ask you about Project Emerge. So you read my mind virtually. Alex, I know that you had started the Sizi-Talk series, in which is now something that I've grown very familiar with, as well as our past and current marketing interns. Did you want to just talk about that process and where you got that idea from to begin with?
Yeah, so Sizi-Talk Live was not my idea. It was something that was brought together by the field marketing team, which was an amazing, amazing team put together by Tony. But they always had all of these creative ideas. And I remember, I was like, let me tell you what Sizi-Talk is and then how they brought it up. But so Sizi-Talk is a series that's developed by the field marketing team, where it features fun interviews with young professionals, industry leaders, hiring managers, thought leaders. And so when they did kind of this presentation of, why we should do Sizi-Talk Lives, it was, talking about the impact of live and why we need to be in that space. And they had all of these speakers lined up already. I mean, they did so much research and prepared this. And Tony and I were just blown away by this idea. And they were and we're ready to start it next week. And I just remember at first I was stuck on Sizi-Talk because I was like, people can't say Sizigi. Now we're going to introduce Sizi-Talk, which is a tongue twister all its own. But now it started rolling off the tongue, so it's a lot better. But, they came with this idea full force, and it started off on Instagram. And then we got approved for LinkedIn streaming. And so then we moved it to LinkedIn Live, where it lives now. And it really embodies our core values of empowering voices, giving people the platform to share, companies they've started, industries they're in, and then also building professional confidence. So giving tips and advice to, students who are trying to get on that track or who are trying to, get within those industries, those avenues. What do you do in that professional journey if you want to achieve those same goals or similar goals? So, be sure to follow our LinkedIn page and get notifications when we go live with our Sizi-Talks. But yeah, no, it was a great initiative brought together by the field marketing team. Thanks, Zach.
Oh goodness, yeah, I can't wait we do have we have our next ones coming. We have 2 more scheduled for October. We're still working on getting more people scheduled, but yeah, we're gonna have some great content coming up soon. Hopefully we'll be able to get into some different, company heads soon. I've been trying to reach out to some of my friends, but I don't know if they don't check their LinkedIn DMs. Speaking of different companies, Veronica, did you want to just talk about some of the different work with the different companies you've been working with within the past couple of months, or what companies that Sizigi is helping in terms of, hiring different candidates by using our platform?
Yeah. So at first, when I first came on board, my expertise is in finance and accounting. So that's what I feel most comfortable recruiting for. But once we started realizing how many companies and people need our help, we kind of expanded that to just everything. And so it's cool because it actually worked in our favor. We were able to help companies nationwide. I would say, New York, Miami, Indiana, San Diego. And different industries. We have data analytics, we have accounting, obviously CPA kind of works in the same realm. What else? We've had some logistics coordinator, HR manager. So it's been a diverse, different roles available, which has been really cool because it's able to help me and our team, understand different markets and different industries. So it's really nice to be able to help so many different companies and people, throughout the time. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do just have like 2 or 3 more questions for you guys before we open it up to the audience, and I already have a couple of them here. I'll leave it with, what was the biggest accomplishment for each of you within Sizigi within this past year?
I guess I'll go first, right? So, I think my job is really to recruit and empower the best people, right, or the best team. And I think we did a great job assembling the team on here. And then what we did is we inserted some great interns, right, and we came together. And what we accomplished over those 3 months was unreal, right? We went from a company that only had maybe, let's call it, a couple thousand users to much more than that today. We went from a company that was pre-revenue to post-revenue. We went from a company that kind of had a version 1 or MVP to a version 2 to now a version 3, right? We brought brand awareness. We have great customer enablement that's happening. We built great human resource infrastructure, right, to help us scale. So, I've worked at big companies, and, I see it is so hard to align and execute a team, right? It's one of the hardest things because everybody's really focused on their one thing here or there. But to get everybody to see the big picture, we had company meetings every Monday where all the interns would come, and we'd go over things and present things. To come together as a team and to be able to execute across an array of all those different things at a high level is pretty tremendous and rare.
Yeah, I think, Tony hit on it, but for marketing and for me specifically, it's really been the branding. I think that every time Tony's like, somebody messaged me and said they're seeing Sizigi everywhere, I'm like, great, that means we're doing our job, right? And so I think that really establishing our branding was a huge component to it, because it allowed us to align really, what is Sizigi, who we are. So it was really establishing the brand guidelines and really pushed forward Sizigi's name and how we positioned ourselves.
Yeah, I would have to say the biggest accomplishment this year for us, or well, for me at least personally, has been honestly making a placement for Sizigi, our first source of revenue, our first GM, in a company all the way in New York, within 5 months of the software, the platform launching, having in a pandemic, not being able to network naturally and normally. I mean, I think we were able to beat all odds and make a placement. I think that that's pretty remarkable. So I'm really proud of us for it being a collective team effort in doing that.
I actually have 2 perspectives. From one perspective, of course, the technology itself, right? How it's evolved, how it's served its purpose, how it's actually scaled, how it's remained stable. I mean, all these things matter because it's a product experience. But I think taking a step back, I think overall, each component of the company, just like each component of software, operates in a very specific manner and has a very specific impact. And I've seen a lot of companies over the years, and I can say that this team and what this company has accomplished in a year is just phenomenal and absolutely amazing. So, my hat's off to everybody that's worked on this. It's really been fantastic.
So you're going to take off that hat so we can see your hair?
No.
Oh, goodness. And just one last question before we turn it over to the audience. What should our audience, I know what we are expecting, but what should somebody expect who's from the outside looking in at Sizigi within the second year? So now we're past year 1. What's coming in 2021?
I think I'll jump on that one. So, let's talk product perspective for a second. The ecosystem, meaning software, platforms, experiences, companies that exist outside of Sizigi, is vast. And it is completely fragmented, right? So our purpose in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, is to deeply interconnect Sizigi as a platform into each one of those ecosystems so that we can be more automated. We can expand faster. We have a larger footprint, a larger impact zone. We are able to be utilized with standardized processes and platforms in the industry, whether it's some company's applicant tracking system or it's actually LinkedIn, or Monster or Dice. Our purpose, I think, in the next few years, besides growing the software of the platform, is really making Sizigi the go-to ubiquitous tool in this particular market.
Yeah, I would just echo kind of what Zach said. Is that's our number one focus is we're customer centric. We really believe that most platforms out there are very B2B focused, meaning hiring companies, job postings, ATS systems, or where you submit resume scoring, et cetera. And we really want to empower people, students, professionals. Right now, we got some pretty cool content, right? Create digital content. You can configure it, send a job application, know how people are engaging in it. But what about like explainable and actionable analytics? Like how to create the best content so it engages people, right? How to help you achieve your career aspirations. So I want everybody to know on this call that, our number one focus will always be the consumer, right? And we believe we're one of the first platforms to do that, on a professional platform to do that.
Yeah, I mean, just exactly what Zach and Tony said. And then it's really about this future year will really focus on enablement and making sure that we provide you guys the best content so you guys understand how to maximize your e-portfolios, that you guys understand the platform to its full ability. And so that's, one of our primary goals is, now that you have this platform, how do we allow you to create the best e-portfolio platforms, and how do we allow you to get hired?
Right. And then also showing our clients too how valuable, the platform is and e-portfolios are, and how, there's so much more to a person than just a piece of paper.
I am excited for what's to come. I cannot wait. I know I said that was the last question, but this is the last one, I promise. Are we going to be expecting fall, winter internships? I know we've just entered our fall internship right now. So are you planning on continuing the internship programs from semester to semester in the future?
Yeah, so we do have fall internships right now. I will let you know we have one on the strategy consulting side. That one's come to a close. We have 6 finalists in a case competition. We will select 3 winners. It's a pretty cool panel of judges that we have. That includes some professionals as well as, someone like even Jonathan Javier, right, from Consulting. So it's a myriad of great professionals. We're going to be holding that case competition next week and selecting 3 teams. And then Alex has a few different types of programs.
Yeah, so right now we do have the remote marketing internship that's still going on through fall, with opportunity to extend through spring.
Yeah. And we had roughly, I think, somewhere around 10 plus interns that extended their summer into fall. So we expect some to go into spring. And one of the cool things we do is try and develop internship programs that are kind of at the highest value of us at that time. So I think as we approach kind of November, December, we're going to have a better idea of what our main priorities are come February and March, and have some fantastic interns help us execute on those.
I'm very excited to see. I know my old internship professor had reached out to me and she was like, is Sizigi still hiring? Do they still have people? So as soon as we get those new job postings up, I'll be sure to send them her way.
Yep. So
we do have a couple. Sorry, what was that, Tony?
I'm saying we did have, Abby had some interns as well for internships for running different social platforms, as well as this meme team? So
our meme team.
Yeah.
meme team.
All right, we do have some questions from the audience that I wanted to get to, so that way you guys could answer some of them. Claire Granich says, what makes you most passionate about Sizigi?
Yeah. So the cool thing is we're all passionate about Sizigi, right? Because, we spend a third of our life on our career. We go to school, right? Then we go to college, pay lots of money. Then it's hard to find a job, et cetera. And you work maybe, until you're 60, right? So this is a third of our life that we're spending on it. And when you look at it, and there's a lot of struggle trying to find a job, right? And how do we market ourselves better? How are we empowered, right? So we're not just applying to hundreds of jobs and feeling like we have no control of it. We don't even have control of the words on our resume, right? So really passionate about empowering people, making them be able to market themselves, giving them their own voice. So that's one big avenue of it. And number two is, I'm in my mid 40s now, 20 years into my career. And, all I have is a piece of paper with my accomplishments, right? With some bullet points. I don't remember what I did in school or all the cool things. So how do we start having people kind of capture those moments onto their own private site where they get moments of reflection, right? So I can show my daughter or my grandkids some of the cool stuff that I did as well and reflect myself. So that's why I'm passionate about this mission.
Yeah, I think that I'm passionate about it. And this is something that, I've always been passionate about Sizigi because it's something that affects me directly, right? It affects us all. We've all gone through the hiring process and experienced it and noted that there's areas where things need to be changed, especially, in our world now where you're looking at everything that is showing that keeping things constant is not going to be okay for the future. But something that Zach said, and he said this, he says it constantly, is that, working for a company that is, impacting change and that is, changing, disrupting an industry is something huge to be a part of. And so every time, or since he said that, I think that's something that's been super important to me and something that I didn't think of fully when I came onto Sizigi. I was just like, this is something that affects me. It affects everybody I know. Everybody is applying to jobs at some point in their lives. And to note that, Sizigi is really a disruptor in the industry and it's changing the way that people are applying to jobs. It's something I'm really passionate about and really excited to continue on this journey with.
Yeah, and like I said earlier in the live, I'm passionate about recruiting and helping other people. So if this is able to help people and hiring managers see, hey, there's a candidate and maybe his or her resume is mediocre, the ePortfolio and Suzy is really going to push him or her over the edge and show them that they're a really great candidate for the role. And if somebody is able to get an interview, sometimes it's all it takes is just the interview. And if Suzy is able to help them do that and land the job, then that's exactly what makes me passionate to continue on.
Yeah, let me so Alex took my line. No, I'm just kidding.
That's why I said that you say that, because I was like, he's gonna say she stole it.
No, it's fine. But let me add to that. So disruption and impact is critical, but what are we disrupting and impacting? We're disrupting and impacting a broken process. That broken process has an emotional, a psychological impact on every single individual that goes through that, right? When they're not seen, when they're not heard, when they feel undervalued, that's got to stop. Right? We're all unique beings. We all, maybe we're not the right fit for a job, but that doesn't mean we're undervalued or we don't have incredibly valuable skills. And I feel like part of the mission and part of the passion that Sizigi represents is this uplifting ideal on recognizing the individual. And that's important.
I could not have said it better myself. I will move on to the next question. So we have Oliver, and he asks, what was something that you learned from the intern/analysis that surprised you?
Yeah, so I know Oliver, right? We work together. He's a great person. We worked together at FICO, and then, we're pretty close friends now, still talking. And Oliver probably knows this firsthand is, my management style is probably a bit different than the normal management style is. I like to empower people. In our internship program, it was our first year being a company, right? And we expect only to have a couple interns, and now we had like 70, right? And, it's not a rinse and repeat internship. It's high value. And I think something, at first during maybe the internship was, oh, where's Tony at? Or where's the structure? Or where's that? And all of a sudden, a week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, and they, a lot of the interns start doing the work themselves, right? And they're producing like stuff that kind of blows my wildest expectations, and I think it's really cool when they go through this experience because it builds professional confidence that hey, myself as an intern can go out there and come up with great ideas and they get implemented, which is pretty cool. So I guess what surprised me is I know my management style, and it was cool to see how well it worked with a lot of interns and how they kind of came away or left the program with great professional confidence.
Let me add to that. How you doing, Oliver? Of course, dealing and interacting with the data analytics team, you find it's all about insight, right? You need to extract insight. I think one of it was quirky too, and that's why I want to mention it. And I said this before, we started looking at census data and economic data. And what we found out in some of the initial components of our analysis was that hiring trends, company trends, and this makes obvious sense when you think about it, but it doesn't make so much sense because there's no direct correlation that you can just reach out to and find the answers. But the impact of certain economic standards in certain areas and those trends directly reflected the same hiring trends in those areas. Right? So by incorporating that data, we can in the future create insights for our users that say, well, what if I want to target New York or Houston or Des Moines, Iowa? Like, what is the opportunity level in those particular areas? So I thought that was really, really interesting.
I think, if I could chime in here, I think something that I thought was really interesting, because most of our interns, if not all, were primarily from Generation Z. Something that I noticed is that they were kind of fed up with the hiring process as it is. We heard so many of them say, I've applied to hundreds of internships. I've applied to so many internships. And this kind of goes back to what Zach was saying. It's like, at some point, I think that the reason our interns were so incredibly passionate about Sizigi is because they're sick of that the landscape is. And so for them to continually think that it is, them that isn't getting the job, they understood that was the difference, that it wasn't them, it was the resume, it was the ATS software, it was all these other components that are around the hiring process. And that's something that, when I was an undergrad, I didn't really know a lot. I didn't know what ATS was. I didn't know that there was, resume scoring. And so I think it's really interesting that they are fully consumed in it, and they are understanding the issues that surround it, and they're totally just fed up with it. So that's something really interesting that I learned from this group.
Yeah, my interns, I have to say, what really surprised me the most was just their fearlessness and their voice. I mean, they were not scared of voicing their opinions, of being creative, of bringing new ideas to the table. I was more than open to hear how they, kind of wanted to approach different situations, and they were very vocal in a very professional way. And I was very impressed by that.
Absolutely. We keep getting questions after questions, guys. These are great questions. I wanted to pull up this one that I thought was very thought-provoking. It asks, what makes Sizigi different from every other professional job site? I love this question.
Yeah.
Let me jump in there for a sec, Tony.
Yeah, sure.
So Tony said it earlier, we're consumer facing, right? What does that really mean, right? So go to Dice, go to Indeed, go to any other job platform, go to LinkedIn, go to any other job platform. It's all about a business posting a job, a requisition for a job, right? Here's some content, here's some information, here's the requirements of the job, go ahead and apply. It is a very mundane experience, right? There's no interactivity, there's no community, there's no enablement, there's no learning. It really is just a directory of jobs. Now, what makes Sizigi different is that it's your own personalized engine, right? It's not some job platform where you apply to. You invest the time, the effort, and the energy to craft unique experiences that speak to you and your individual skills, and then you get to distribute that to the world, right? It's like your own website builder on steroids. It is such a different concept that, and it's difficult to understand, but it's such a different concept that it blows my mind when you compare it to these other platforms.
Yeah, 100%. So nothing to add.
I figured.
So I do apologize. I have to run. I have some technology to take care of. So this is great, awesome. I love everybody. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks
Thank
for
you, Zach.
Bye, Zach.
See you soon.
I think he saw
All
a
right.
question here that he didn't like.
All right, we have just a couple more questions. Jessica asks, is there a specific tactic or content that you found to be more intriguing in the eyes of a hiring manager when using Sizigi? So when a hiring manager is using a Sizigi portfolio.
Yeah, I can take this question. You know, a lot of the candidates that I speak to, they're very, they'll just want to do like a high level, hi, my name is this is what I've done, you know, hire me. I want them to get more creative with it. Give them something that the hiring manager is not expecting, a presentation, show like a project that they've done. Maybe if they can, like an Excel spreadsheet of, you know, maybe an analytics or something that they've done, something that will show the hiring manager, hey, I can put what I've done on paper, on my resume, and actually articulate and show you that I can actually do it. Because I think, you know, the more creative you are on your platform, the more the hiring manager is going to be blown away. Like, for instance, we actually had a client who specifically wanted somebody to speak business proficiency Mandarin. That's a very specific request. So I had the applicant basically say their some project they worked on in that industry in Mandarin. And that blew the hiring manager away because it showed them, okay, this person obviously has the background and expertise, but can also speak Mandarin, you know? So yeah, I would say that the more specific and unique content you make, the better. Don't keep it so high level. Make it personal to you. Like, that's exactly what Sizigi is about. Personal touch of your portfolio and profile.
Absolutely. I think that is the only way to stand out with Sizigi is by doing something different that you couldn't have done on a resume or you couldn't have done with any other platform because the software and the technology wasn't there. We'll do one more question and then I'll announce our winners because I do have our 5 winners already randomized and selected from all of our comments. So thank you to everybody who engaged with us and stayed to the end of this live stream with us. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day, and you're going to get some fun Sizigi swag and prizes soon. So we have one more question, and this one is from Russell. He asks, what do you love most about working in a startup environment?
You guys want to go first?
Ooh, Alex, you're muted.
And I said it wasn't going to happen to me. But I think the best part about working in a startup environment is really making your mark. You have so many opportunities to really define the path that the company's going to go on. And so I think, you know, especially with a CEO like Tony, who's really open to, you know, what's going to get us there and how are we going to, you know, really be different and creative in our tactics. Making your mark and really understanding that, you know, taking ownership and everything that you're going to put forward, I think is a really cool part of a startup. And then also,
I'd have.
Sorry, no, I just want to say,
no, go ahead.
Because even looking through this first year, it's crazy to see, you know, everything we've created and implemented this first year. So just seeing the growth and being able to look back on it is crazy.
Again, I don't want to. I don't want to start talking. Okay. So for me, I'd have to say flexibility, and I don't mean like work-life balance flexibility. I would actually say in a startup, you work longer hours than in corporate, but the flexibility of like, okay, if something's not working, let's quickly redirect and, regroup and re-strategize. So there's flexibility, talking to Alex, talking to Tony, how we want to go forward with essentially growing the business and, making placements, making money, helping others. There's a lot of flexibility in that. And it's very fun. It makes it enjoyable.
Yeah, and since, I have a little bit of different perspective, right, because I started it, but it's really cool when, you have people that are so passionate about it. Everybody here and Zach, they work endless hours and they're so passionate about it. And then you start seeing the traction and they're able to run their own shops, right? And you just see them grow and flourish and stuff. And, that's the part I like. I think, running or doing a startup like an entrepreneur, it's tough. I would tell you that it takes a few things. I think one is take strong family and friend support, right? So I'm lucky I have that. Number two, it takes a great team that's passionate and is empowered. Number three is trying to find product market fit. So we really have great customers that give us great insights. We pivoted this company. We changed it from what I thought a year ago. It's kind of been tweaked, right? So that's cool. And then all of a sudden, you start hearing other people that start liking it and all that stuff. But every day's different. I love that part. And we go fast. We have a famous saying here, right? We don't know what we don't know. So we go out there and we try everything and see how it works and fail fast and then go try something else. Abby, I'm just going to go real quick on two other questions, okay? And then we'll announce the winners. So I see one on what do you expect 5 years from now? That's a great question. And we think about that a lot internally. And, we have big aspirations to do a lot more. But I think to keep our focus on the ultimate goal is we want to replace the resume. There's 2 billion people that use a paper resume. How do we get people to start creating digital content, configuring job applications or presentations, streaming them, getting analytics back, being able to make even better and better content, et cetera. So, if we really focus on that, would be fantastic. All of a sudden, when you go to apply to a job, it's like, oh, where's my Sizigi link? All of a sudden, it's like, I just did this cool thing in class, or I just did this cool thing at work. Oh, let me go create and capture that moment and put it on my private site on Sizigi, right? So that's kind of what our ultimate goal is over 5 years. And then I thought I saw one on fundraising, I believe. I'm trying to find it. It was an earlier one. Tony, I know you went on a little bit about the finance internship, and I was wondering, how does Sizigi plan to raise capital to drive the vision? So that's an excellent question. I think our initial expectation was to raise around the April, May, June timeframe, but then COVID hit, right? And we really focused on ourselves and how do we make ourselves have more traction. And, right now we're sitting pretty good. We have more than 5,000 users. We have, companies that are starting to use us. We just released this new version of software that's really a game changer. And we're starting to kind of look for investment. And the cool thing is, because we waited a little bit and got so much more traction, is we're getting some pretty cool inbound interest as well. So, we are looking to fundraise and hopefully complete that in the next, 3 to 6 months or maybe sooner. So I think that's it. I think those were all the questions. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, and our 5 winners, drum roll please, are going to be Oliver Vanderhorn, Kamyar Sai, Avayaz Reza, Alan Lee, and Michael Conway. So if you guys just want to, I'll find you guys in the comments, and then I'll connect with you personally so that way I can get your emails and we can get all of your Sizigi swag in your 2-month free premium trial of Sizigi set up for you guys, so you can start unlocking those analytics and those insights. I'm just going to end with one final meme, just because who doesn't love a good meme to end a live stream? I think that they're great, and they're Sizigi memes, so even better, honestly. We have one of our favorites of The Office when you start landing interviews with your e-portfolio, which hopefully all 5 of you will be doing that now that you have your 2-month free premium trial unlocked. So congratulations to the 5 of you. And thank you again to everybody who joined in for our live stream today and helped us celebrate our 1-year anniversary. Alex, Tony, Veronica, and Zach, who is no longer here. But thank you guys all so much for coming and talking to us. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.